On this episode of Locked On Angels, the Halos missed out on a veteran starting pitcher that fits their budget and works well in this rotation. So who is it? We'll share. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by the College Football Playoff. It's here, Johnny, and you don't want to miss a moment of the action. The College Football Playoff, presented by Allstate, begins with 4 first-round games, December 20th and 21st on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
It's our third off season here at Locked On Angels. We are usually here 5 days a week, but for the off season, we're going to be down to 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday is the plan. We'll have some in-between content here and there as well for your perusal. But we will ramp back up to 5 days a week before spring training. On today's show, are the Halos' top prospects any good? Well, Baseball America, you heard of them, right? They think so. And we'll share what they had to say about the Halos' prospects. 2 injured pitchers are going to be ready for spring training. Who are they? How will they impact the team? But first, Mike, let's talk about starting pitching, some of the names of the players who are out there, but also specifically who is no longer out there. This one hurts you, right, Mike?
Yeah, this one was frustrating. There was a pitcher who signed with the Baltimore Orioles, just trying to save time, and Jeff Passan reported that Japanese free agent pitcher Tomoyuki Sugano is agreeing to a deal with the Orioles for 1 year, $13 million. Now, he's 35 years old and one of the most accomplished pitchers in Japan, had a 1.67 ERA in 156 and 2/3 innings last season. Johnny, walking 16 and striking out 111, has a career ERA in Japan of 2.45. I wanted him in my GM episode, so go back and listen to that. I wanted him, and I think, John, this is a swing and a miss because they could have had a guy that fits their budget. They could have had a guy who is a veteran guy, and they could have had a guy who slots in really nicely in this starting rotation. He's a right-handed pitcher, and so it's not another lefty. I know that they had a lot of lefties with last year's starting rotation. This year, more right-handed. And I like it, John. I like this move, and I think that the Angels missed on this move. And when we talk about the Angels, a 1 year, $13 million deal fits who they are right now. I know. We can complain about Artie. We can complain about going and getting the major stars. We can get frustrated with all those things. I get all that. But we understand, everydayers understand how this team operates, whether we like it or not. This is how they operate. They're a little bit on the cheap, and they're going to find ways to work some things out with their roster. John, this felt like an easy move for them, and getting a really good pitcher for not very much and signed for 1 year, Johnny. Yeah. And so it sounds like it's a prove-it deal for him. And you and I both know that prove-it deals seem to be beneficial deals for the organization because these players really want to make sure that the next contract is a huge contract. So this is a swing and a miss, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think everything you said is true. I will play devil's advocate just a little bit. Not to say that you're incorrect or I don't think this would have been a great move. It's the not a strikeout guy element that Sugano, to me, might be the reason why they didn't pursue him aggressively.
Okay.
At the same time, who knows how aggressively they might have gone after him if they did at all. I know that they were linked to him in terms of interest and whatnot. And so I hear you when you say all the things that you said about him. Yeah. I just wonder, Mike, when you've got Tyler Anderson, you've got Jack Kohanowitz potentially. You've got Kyle Hendricks. You've got Jose Soriano, who can strike out guys, but also when he's rolling, he's doing a lot of ground ball outs, right? I just kind of wonder if maybe that's the hesitation. You don't want too many of the same guys with the same looks and the same repertoire, that sort of thing. I'm not going to argue with the fact that there's 111 strikeouts to 16 walks. That's phenomenal. And he's not putting guys on base or anything like that. He's got a low ERA. I'll be interested to see how that translates to MLB this season. But you're right.
Sure.
$13 million should have been an easy go. In my opinion, I wonder if there's some back and forth with the Angels on how they fill that fifth spot.
Yeah.
And you think about who's going to be in the rotation. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. And so I wonder if there's some hesitation there. It's got to be, if you're going to round out this rotation with who you have now plus one of your young guys, I get that. And it's up in the air which young guy it might be. But if it's somebody like, I don't know, say Corbin Burnes, who, right, you think about, okay, we're making room for that guy, and then everybody else slots down one. So that's something to take into consideration. Ken Rosenthal had some interesting stuff to say on Fair Territory about Corbin Burnes, talking about maybe taking a short-term contract, but a high annual average value, something we've seen before, maybe something with opt-outs. His guess, this is pure speculation on Ken's part.
Yeah.
3 years, $45 million annual average value with opt-outs. He mentioned that he would like to go back west since he has a home in Arizona, is a native of California. He brought up that the Giants, the Blue Jays, and Baltimore have all shown interest. No mention of the Angels. What do you think of that? 3 years, $45 million annual average value. Feels steep? Is it a bargain? What do you say?
3 years? I think you go for it. And it feels like a Angels deal. Angels don't give long-term deals to pitchers. Again, working within the parameters that they have set up for us, they don't give long-term deals to pitchers. So if you get a Corbin Burnes for 3 years and his AAV is $45 million, it's a lot. I get it. But you're getting Corbin Burnes at 30, 31, and 32. And then you throw an opt-out in there, maybe after year one, or perhaps after year two. He'll probably want it after year one, depending on what the numbers are for the salary and the years and things like that. I mean, we've heard 10 years and $300 million plus for him. And so if you're getting 3 years and you're just going high AAV, I think that would be a brilliant move for the Angels, because I think he's somebody that would really benefit this team. In fact, there's a great article that I want you to share about what he said about teams similar to the Halos.
Yeah, so this came from an Athletic article back in August. They were talking to Corbin Burnes. He was playing against the Mets, and somebody from the Mets approached him and said, "Hey, the mental repertoire that you go through, just want you to know we've shared that with our young pitchers, because you're making an impact outside of your own organization, the way you prepare, the way you go about your business." And he thought that was pretty cool. But here's what he had to say. And I think there's some ticks in favor of the Halos and maybe some ticks not in their favor in this, what he has to say here. But this came from the Athletic. Let me read it for you. "I'm going to have to do a lot of research this offseason of farm systems, young guys coming up, groups of core guys that are on a team." Burnes said, "Where does it look like teams are going to be competitive? Where are teams looking to spend some money to make the fan base happy, whatever it might be? I think I can provide value in helping to elevate some young guys on the staff." Now, Grayson Rodriguez is somebody who would go to Burnes for a lot of help. Is it a group of young pitchers where maybe they missed the postseason this year, but they have the pieces to do it now and for the long term? But you never know what's going to happen in each year in baseball. So you just want to provide yourself the best chance to win, hopefully for your entire tenure, hopefully for most of your tenure, whatever it is. That's important, knowing that you can provide more value to a team that's going to be in the postseason and maybe elevate some young guys. Michael? Like I said, a couple ticks in favor of the Angels in terms of they got a group of young guys, a young core, which Burnes said, providing some mentorship to young pitchers that are on the come up. We know that the Angels have a lot of those. The only thing I think goes against them is the, what do you call it? The 1,000-mile view or from the sky of the farm system where
you're
it's
high above. Yes. Yep.
They're ranked 29th, they're ranked 30th. Well, hopefully Burnes is the kind of guy to see that, the Angels are the fourth ranked system in terms of pitching prospects.
Right.
So perhaps there's something there. I just think like, hey, that's a guy who understands that, yes, he might sign a deal with a team like the Halos, knowing that they might not get there this year, but over the course of his tenure, they have the pieces to get there. It's the competitive window we always talk about, right?
Right. Absolutely. And if they can't get Corbin Burnes, which those numbers that they've mentioned, I think are very reasonable for the Angels to do that. Ron Washington had a suggestion. He was asked, what pitcher that's not on your team would you want to hand the ball to when the game's on the line? And he said, Max Scherzer. And they asked why. And he said, he's gritty, he's gutty, and he never gives in. And Johnny, fitting the parameters that the Angels have set up for us, I think Max Scherzer could be a potential win for this team if they can't get a Corbin Burnes or a Walker Buehler or somebody of that nature. I think having a Max Scherzer come in, he's a strikeout guy, and I know he's older. I know there's health concerns, but having somebody like that who is telling his manager, don't come out and get me. I'm going to finish this inning. I'm going to go 7. I'm going to figure this out. I think that he's still got that in him, right?
Yeah, and I think too that the value that Scherzer brings to a team is kind of that mentorship role. Like, get those guys around a Max Scherzer. Even though he might not be Max Scherzer of old, he's going to have something of value to offer the young starters and pitchers and bullpen guys on this team. And they're going to look up to him. They're going to be able to, glean some of that grittiness from him. I think you could get him on a cheap deal. He probably wants one more go around. I don't know if he would come to the Angels. Maybe he would start and finish his career with the Tigers, right? That might be something that he wants to do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if Wash feels that way about Scherzer, it makes sense. But again, I do wonder about that 5th spot in the rotation where the Angels are like, yeah, we could go out and have our rotation set with 5 guys, but do we want to displace a Detmers or a Kohanowitz or an Aldegari or something like that? That's something that we'll wrestle with coming up on the show. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, Baseball America shared some thoughts on the Halos' top prospects, and we'll listen and share if we agree with them coming right up.
Everydayers, you need SelectQuote on your team, especially if you're like John and I. We've got families, we've got kids, and when it comes to protecting your legacy and your family's financial future, SelectQuote is the best teammate that you'll ever find. SelectQuote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover you less, and you don't want that. But with SelectQuote, their licensed insurance agents work for you. They tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. Gotta love that. If you're in good health, they work with carriers that could get you same-day coverage for up to $5 million with no medical exam required. And these policies are more affordable than you think. You can get coverage for up to $1 million with as little as $20 per month. All you have to do is head to their website, selectquote.com/lockedon, and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Again, selectquote.com/lockedon to get started. SelectQuote, they shop and you save.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. We thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Mike, I love getting into what Baseball America has to say about prospects, especially when it comes to the Halos. Not very often you get to see, a deep dive into the Halo system. And that's what they did. They had a write-up on the Halo's top prospects, and they had the top 10 guys when we might be able to expect them in Major League Baseball. Some of them we've seen, of course, and some of them will probably take a little bit more time. Let's get into the list here and see what we got.
Yeah, Caden Dana, of course, is number one. Just had a birthday yesterday, by the way. And this guy is expected, according to their estimates, to show up this season, to be on the roster this season. Now, a lot of things up in the air currently, but if he really rocks it in the minor leagues, then we could potentially see him again. Really good article by Ryan Falla of angelswin.com talked about Caden Dana's mindset after he pitched really well and then had 2 games where he really struggled. We're going to share that story on Friday, actually. And so looking forward to that. Christian Moore, number 2, right? And their estimate is that he will be up this season as well and potentially playing maybe regularly at second base. And it would be awesome to see him. Really good bat, not so great defense, but he is working on his defense. Getting him around Wash, I think, would be a benefit. George Clausen, we haven't seen him yet, John. And he was a part of the Carlos Estevez deal. They're estimating that he'll be up in 2026. He is a swing and miss guy, really good pitcher, somebody people are really stoked about. Of course, Nelson Rada is on that list. Ryan Johnson is on that list. Josue Lugo is on that list. 2029 is the expectation for when he shows up. Denzer Guzman, there's a name that we've heard a lot about, but really hasn't stood out, really hasn't captured the attention of many people because more prospects have come in and really kind of jumped over him. Of course, Sam Aldeguerri is on there. Dario Laverde is on there. And then Chris Cortez, they just drafted him and he is number 10 and in their top 10. And their expectation on those last 2 guys for Dario and for Chris is 2026 and 2027. So that's where a lot of those players rank currently.
Yeah, they also rank the best players in the system based on their tools. They had the best hitter for average was Nelson Rada. Best power hitter, Christian Moore. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Best strike zone discipline, Nelson Rada again, Mike. Fastest base runner, Capri Ortiz. I love this. Best athlete, Caleb Ketchup out of Georgia. Let's go. The best fastball in the system belongs to Chris Cortez, who you mentioned they just drafted. Best curveball belongs to George Clausen.
Wow.
Jose Fermin has the best slider. Ryan Costio has the best changeup. The best control, which we all know the Angels need plenty of that. Ryan Johnson.
Yep.
Juan Flores is the best defensive catcher. Denzer Guzman is the best defensive infielder. Also has the best infield arm. The best outfielder, again, Nelson Rada. And then the best outfield arm is Randy DeJesus. A lot of Nelson Rada on that list, huh, Mike?
Yeah, and Nelson Rada is somebody that excites me, John, because I know he's still young and he's still figuring some things out and working his way through the minor league system right now. Only 19 years old. He was in Double-A last year. Did struggle a bit because it was a leap for him, but somebody that still has time to develop, still has time to grow. So he gets me really excited, John, when I look at this team and what the potential future team could look like. In fact, Baseball America gave the projected 2028 lineup, regular names that you would see right now that they believe will be with the Angels in 2028. Ohapi's in there. Shawnuel is in there. They have Christian Moore at second base. They have Rengifo at third base. That means they're going to have to sign him, right? And they have Taylor Ward in left field, which means they're going to have to sign him again. A lot of debate on who they should keep and who they should send away. Center field, they have Nelson Rada there. He'll be 22 in 2028. They have Joe Adell still on this team, 29 years old when in 2028. And of course, Mike Trout will still be around. He'll be a veteran. He's 36 by that time. And then here's their starting rotation. And I thought this was interesting because it leaves out a name. And I want to talk about that name in a minute. They have Jose Soriano, Caden Dana, Chase Silseth, Sam Aldeguerri, and George Clausen, and of course, Ben Joyce is closing. No Jack Kahanowitz, not even listed. Now, he's not in the top 10 of the best prospects in the Angels organization. But John, I think that he should at least be considered because of what he's already done. I'm interested to hear the thought process behind Baseball America. Maybe they think Aldeguerri and Clausen will be so much better, and Caden Dana as well. Of course, Chase Silseth has already been in the starting rotation. We'll talk about him next segment. And of course, Soriano as the number one starter. That would be ideal. John, if that's our starting rotation in 28, Soriano's 29, Caden Dana's 24, and then we have two 26-year-olds and a 28-year-old. That's a young, vibrant, fun starting rotation that we haven't had since I was a baby boy.
Yeah, right? No kidding. Well, look, there's a lot of different looks in that projected rotation. So perhaps that might be some of the logic that went into why it's one pitcher over somebody like Kohanowitz, right?
Yeah.
So with Jose Soriano, you've got the lively sinker and fastball. You've got the ability to strike guys out, get the ground ball. Caden Dana, by 2028, at 24 years old, I know that they had his estimated time of arrival. Obviously, he came up last season and could factor into this season. I just think he needs more time, Mike. Yeah. He's a youngin'. And we've talked about it previously. Kind of the right time to bring guys up, not because it's the specific age. It's not the age. That's a little bit arbitrary, but it's the time spent in the minor leagues that by the age of 22, you're kind of ready to go. And so you just kind of wonder, do you give Caden Dana another full season in the minors? Maybe give him a chance in AAA. I know it's a hitter-friendly league, but at the same time, see how he handles it. See how he handles the adversity. You might also want to keep him in AA because then you don't have the altitude affecting his pitches, and then you get a more accurate read of the things he needs to work on, like his fastball spin and movement and that sort of thing. Chase Silseth is interesting just because of the injury history now. I wonder if, I guess I'll say this, we're just going to have to see how this season goes, right? Where he's going to end up, how he's going to perform. I want to see if he's able to bounce back from the injuries that he's had. Aldeguerri and Clausen, I mean, I get it. I would love to see those guys in there. Aldeguerri gives a very different look. It's not overpowering speed. It's lots of tricky pitches. And I think that's why he would be in there as well. So at the end of the day, you look at those five starters, you got your pick of the litter. And we're talking about this like, oh man, what about this guy? Or what about that guy? This is a good problem to have.
Right. Very good problem to have.
No, we haven't had this problem in a very long time with the Halos. And so I think this is really important to point out, is that yes, there's a lot of pitching options, and maybe you have your favorites. Maybe Mike and I have our favorites, but at the end of the day, let's just celebrate the fact that there's a good roster of pitching to choose from and some hope to look forward to with our future starting rotation.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place bets on all sorts of sports, including the NFL, all in one place. And when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view the play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Again, FanDuel.com. Never waste those moments where you're like, I need to make a bet right now. Something's happening right in here. My sports knowledge is bubbling out. Don't waste that moment and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Last week, Mike, Rhett Bollinger, who covers the Angels for MLB.com, tweeted this: right-handers Chase Silseth and Sam Bachman will come to camp fully stretched out to start, but either could be moved to relief to start the season if necessary, according to Perry Manassian. Past that, let's take a look at the starters that are essentially for sure going to be in the rotation to start the season. Yusei Kikuchi, of course. Jose Soriano is a lock. Tyler Anderson in his last year as a Halo. And then Kyle Hendricks, which it seems that he's going to be in the rotation. And a lot of people said, make him the swing man. But I think they're going to give him a legitimate chance to be in the rotation.
At least at the start, sure.
At least at the start of the season. And then from there, I've been talking about it all show long, that fifth spot is kind of in flux because you have Kohanowitz, Detmers, Aldeguerri, maybe George Clausen, maybe Caden Dana. So then, where does that put Chase Silseth? Where does that put Sam Bachman? Do they fit into the rotation? Which one might be in the bullpen? And which one do you project seeing in the rotation if they earn that spot coming out of spring training?
Well, I have recency bias here, John, because when I think about those two pitchers, I think Chase Silseth would probably thrive in the starting rotation because that's where he was better.
Yeah, he certainly did not thrive in the bullpen. That's for sure.
No, and they moved him there because he would get really tired by the fourth inning in any start, right? And Bachman was actually pretty successful in the bullpen when he was healthy. And so I wonder if that might be the direction that they go. I haven't seen Bachman start. And that's the thing. Like, he hasn't had too many starts because he's been hurt and he's been working on things or he's been in the minor leagues. I wonder if the Angels can make an adjustment with Chase Silseth and not have him focus so much on velocity, but actually length of time that he's out there. There's a great article that Jeff Passan tweeted yesterday that y'all should check out. It actually talks about velocity and how that has been amped up and has been emphasized, especially this last season, and that there's a correlation between that and injuries. And I wonder if for Silseth, a part of why he got really tired was he was just exerting himself in those first few innings and he wasn't in control. And that's the thing that is a check in the box of like, okay, there's some immaturity here. He needs to develop. He needs to grow. And so if you're not able to control the strike zone because you're still working some things out, you shouldn't be focusing on velocity, right? You should be focusing on control. And so I wonder if those might be the things that Barry Enright and company can really work on with him specifically. But if I'm going to pick somebody that should be in the starting rotation versus somebody that should be in the bullpen, I think Silseth starting rotation, Bachman should be in the bullpen. And I think he actually should be in the bullpen at the major league level this season because, again, he had some success and had some really sticky situations that he got out of when he was pitching out of the bullpen not too long ago.
All right, give me off the top of your head, you've got Silseth, Kohanowitz, Detmers, Aldegari, Clausen, Dana. Who's your number 5 in this? Or, not number 5, but who's the 5th guy in the rotation?
Yeah, I think we're going to see Detmers there, to be honest with you. And I think because of 2 reasons. One, I think that there's a lot of hope that they have for Detmers. We'll talk about that tomorrow or on Friday. But I also think, Johnny, that with Detmers being in the minor leagues and getting that extra year, I think that the Angels, and especially Ron Washington, they might tip the cap to him. You know what I mean? Like they did with Sandoval starting opening day last year. I think they're going to go, no, we're going to give this guy a full run, full major league season because we had him down in the minors last year. Now, does that go against things that we've heard Perry Manassian say and Ron Washington say? Yes. And do I want them to go with what they've said? Yes. I just don't know if they'll do that with Reed Detmers because Detmers coming out of the bullpen feels weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like he fits there. And so if he's not coming out of the bullpen and he's not starting for you in your starting rotation, then he's in AAA. And it almost like he's wasting away to practically nothing, to quote Little Mermaid. And so that's the thing that I just don't know. I just don't know what to do with Detmers. He doesn't know what to do on the mound. It feels like we just don't know what to do with him, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mentioned it last Friday. Did you catch me say if Kyle Hendricks gets Detmers out of his stinking head and helps him mentally, then he's worth every penny of that $2.5 million that Kyle Hendricks is getting this season. Because if he has a good influence and helps Detmers figure some things out, then I think that could be really great. On a tangent, I will say this. You mentioned the injury and the correlation that MLB did the study on. It's all about spin. It's all about movement. It's all about throwing your hardest every single pitch. Mike, that's why you don't see guys going 7-8 innings anymore.
They're exhausted.
Jared Weaver pointed it out when he was down at the Instructs with the young Angels pitchers. They're all interested in their spin and their velo and their movement. And he's like, guys, you don't have to give 110% every single time. But here's the problem. That's what they're teaching from little league all the way up to the major leagues.
Yeah.
And so it's ingrained in these young players' heads that they have to give their full bore every single pitch. And that just doesn't work. And that's the mentality. For some reason, I don't know when it started or where it came from, but we talked about like somebody like Scherzer earlier. He's old school.
Yeah.
So is even Garrett Cole at this
Yeah.
point. Like, these guys go long innings because they're not giving 110% every single pitch and wearing themselves out. And I think that's a huge issue in MLB. And I'm glad that they said something. Now, whether or not they correct that or what have you with some stupid rule about like, well, you got to go 6 innings or else you lose your
Please don't do
DA.
that.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like, no, just give the information to the teams
Yeah.
so that they know what the epidemic is, what's causing this sort of issue. And then maybe they can pull back the curtain a little bit and rein it in a little bit to keep these guys healthy and keep them going. I actually like the fact that somebody like Kyle Hendricks is on this team and can communicate that, well, don't, pump it in there every single time, every single pitch. You don't have to do that because you're wearing yourself out. So I am just interested to see the influence that some of these veteran starters are going to have over the Angels this season. And again, you've got somebody like Corbin Burnes saying, yeah, if I could be a mentor to some good starting pitching, man, I'd love that. Now, we did talk about the $45 million annual average value. They would have to shed some salary. They would have to move some things around.
Right.
Perhaps you trade Tyler Anderson to get under that luxury tax. And so they would have to move some money around, but that does open up a spot in the rotation. Lots of, interesting paths to take, lots of branching timelines here for the Angels on December 18th right now.
Just defer. Just send it down the road. Yeah. Defer.
It's just my disposed. Tell me what that's from, and you get a shout out on the next episode in the comments. So yeah, tell me what disposed.
I want to say it. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB with our friend Sully. Going to bring a blend of humor and baseball knowledge and keep you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. You can find his show on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show. Get in the comment section on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button because we want 10K by opening day. Even if you're just an audio listener, hit that subscribe button anyway because it really helps out our channel and you'll be part of that 10K by opening day. Mike, what do we have on deck for Friday's show?
Well, we're talking about Reed Detmers on Friday, along with a few other pitchers, but specifically, is Reed fixable? And one stat says that he is, and it's a similar stat to Corbin Burnes. So we're going to share it and talk about it on Friday on Locked On Angels.
Man, I'm looking for, you're holding out this information on me? You're going to make me wait for this on Friday? All right, friends. We hope you'll come back and join us for that. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother, Mike.
That's what you call a tease. And my name is Mike, and that's my brother, John.
Thanks for being here, and we'll see you back here on Friday.
Dispose.
That's not a spoiler. That's a prediction. No, wait, no, I had that backwards. Dang it.